Shwmae pawb, croeso I hir iaith, sianel newydd dwyieithog am ddysgu Cymraeg. A gyda isdeitlau. Byddai'n trafod yn bennaf yn Saesneg am ddysgu Cymraeg ac yn rhoi tips and tricks am sut I ddysgu ac astudio. My name is Rodolfo and I live in Cardiff. I'm originally from Brazil and I was the first person ever to take the UK citizenship test in Welsh. After an amazing response from the people of Wales, I wanted to give something back and create this channel to share my learning journey with other people who are also learning Welsh, and hopefully I can help others in their learning paths as well. I've noticed that sometimes people who have learned English as a second language have some important insights that can help people who are English speakers and who are now learning Welsh. I'm one of those non-native speakers of English, and I hope I can use my perspective as a teacher of English and Portuguese to help you in your Welsh learning. I will try to do this in this channel by bringing insights from linguistics and language teaching to help you in your learning journey to make it easier and more in control. In this first video, I wanted to give you some background and some information about how and why I did the UK citizenship test in Welsh. I'll tell you a little bit about the test itself, what it contains, and how I prepared for it and why I did it. If you are a non-Brit Welsh learner, maybe you one day will want to do the UK citizenship test in Welsh if you apply for citizenship. And if you are British, enjoy learning a little bit more about the process of naturalizing as a British citizen and how much or how little Wales is a part of it. The Life in the UK test is a multiple choice test with 24 questions about British history, British values and British society. People who want to naturalize as British citizens must take this test before applying for citizenship, and they must get 18 questions right at least. It costs £50 to take, and you can take it as many times as you need it until you pass. I already knew this test existed, and I knew it had been criticized for its selective view on British history and so-called British values. So I knew I had to do it, but I wanted to make it more meaningful. For me, making it more meaningful had to be making it more Welsh. Mostly because my identity as an aspiring British citizen was connected to Wales. But there isn't a Welsh path towards British citizenship, and of course there isn't a Welsh citizenship. So I tweaked the process into becoming a bit more Welsh in the only way that I could, which was by changing and choosing the language of the citizenship test. There were also political reasons. Since the test is just a hoop jumping exercise, I wanted the authorities to have to jump through hoops themselves. I thought it might be a quiet resistance, not just against the hoop jumping, but also against the Anglocentrism of the test. I also wanted to reaffirm the roles of Welsh language and Welsh identity as necessary parts of British identity, and that this is not something that they should be overlooking. I'm also aware of how difficult it was for Welsh people to acquire the linguistic rights they have now, and I thought it was very unfortunate if the right to take this test in Welsh existed but weren't being used. So I knew the test could be taken in Welsh because it literally said so on the Wikipedia page about the test. Not that the rest of the page is up to date at all. But I wondered if this was truly possible or if it was just a theoretical concession to the official status of the Welsh language. Wikipedia references a 2009 Freedom of Information request to the Home Office that says that no one had taken the test either in Welsh or Scottish Gaelic by that time. Then I found the blog of a linguistics professor at UCL called Florian Bright with some comments about current citizenship legislation. He shows that citizenship legislation requires you to prove your knowledge of a language and your knowledge of life in the UK. The legislation says a language because it recognizes Welsh and Scottish Gaelic as national languages. So you could theoretically sit the test in Welsh and thereby prove your knowledge of Welsh and become a British citizen without having to know any English. They recently changed the requirement, and now you have to take the test to prove your knowledge of life in the UK, but you have to prove your proficiency in a language in a different way. Usually that means an English proficiency test or having taken a degree in English in the UK. In his blog post, Florian talks about how he contacted MPs and peers to ask about the actual real implications of legislation regarding the Welsh language. He and others sent other Freedom of Information requests to the Home Office, and no one had done it by 2015. By this point, I had already bought the official handbook to study for the test. On the first pages, the book itself says, "Special arrangements can be made if you wish to take it in Welsh or Scottish Gaelic." The test is usually booked online at a government website and is run by an outsourced company, so I had to contact that company in order to make my special arrangements. This was interesting as I had to convince the person I was talking to on the phone that I was reading off their official handbook. After she talked to a supervisor, she tried to get me to change my mind by saying it would take them 12 weeks to prepare a version of the test for me in Welsh, and I said that I accepted that. I exchanged many emails with them, but finally I was able to book the test for just over a month later. Now I had to study and prepare to take that test in Welsh. The test is entirely based on that little book. You don't have to know anything except what it says on that book. If there are any real-world facts out there that contradict the book is always right. There's an official government statement saying that. It is 160 pages long, written in simple English with lots of pictures. So the first thing I did is I read the whole book. Stay tuned to the channel for a future video with the worst takes from the test handbook. Then I had to reread the whole thing, thinking about all the words and imagining them in Welsh and whether I would understand them or not. So I checked hundreds of words in the dictionary and I annotated the whole book. I needed to know how to say things like y deddfau uno, llyfr gweddi gyffredin, Eglwys Wladol, yr adferiad, Gwacair Ucheldiroedd, Grym Ager. In the end, I had a list of 393 words that I added to a website called Quizlet, which allows you to prepare and practice vocabulary. There's also a Quizlet app that allows you to study and play little games with that vocabulary, and I studied these vocabulary all the time wherever I was in the lead up to the test. I also got another official book that contains practice tests and answers, and I was glad that I was passing all of them. Then I did the same thing that I did with the other book. I tried to imagine those questions as if they were in Welsh and wondered whether I could understand them. So I looked more words in the dictionary and I added all those words to my vocabulary list. Still, I didn't know if I would be able to pass a test in Welsh where I hadn't seen any of the questions beforehand in English. So I set aside one of the practice tests without looking at it beforehand and I had it professionally translated into Welsh so that I could quiz myself and test myself with a real sight and seeing test in Welsh. And I practiced that and I passed. In another video, I'll show you this practice test in Welsh with all the questions and I'll quiz you and see if you can answer them in Welsh as well. So finally was the big day. Normally the test is done in a computer, in a test center, but I did mine on paper in someone's office. It was a very positive experience, everything was very well organized, the Welsh language of the test was perfect in my opinion, and I didn't find it very challenging. The test is different for each of the 4 nations. You get different questions depending whether you're taking the test in Wales or in England, for example. But maybe because the book doesn't say a lot about Wales, the Wales questions that I got were quite simple. For example, what is the capital of Wales? What is the national flower? Who is the patron saint of Wales? The hardest question I got was, what is the maximum claim you can make in a small claims court in England and Wales? I don't remember the actual answer. I sent another Freedom of Information request to the Home Office a few days before taking my test, asking if anyone else had taken the test from 2015 up to that point. A few weeks later, they confirmed that no one had ever taken it up to that point, so I knew that I had been the first ever. It was a little after that I started my crowdfunding campaign to raise the funds to pay for my citizenship application. I had an amazing response and I felt really welcomed and honored by the acceptance that I got. It really made me want to learn Welsh even more and start this channel. Since then, I have already got my British passport and it was very exciting to vote for the first time and make my voice heard in Welsh politics as a new citizen. So I want to say diolch yn fawr, but also croeso. Welcome to Hir Iaith. Videos in this channel will cover topics such as what is grammatical gender after all, and why does it matter for Welsh? How many vowels does Welsh have after all? What are mutations exactly? What is the best way to learn them? What is the relationship between different varieties of a language and the standard? And how does it work in Welsh? And what else do you want to see in this channel? Please share your suggestions in the comments below. A paid yn hofio tan ysgrifio. Cofia, mae'r daith dysgu iaith yn hir, ond yn hwyl